Welcome to the South Russell Village Council meeting. Today is Monday, January 27th, 2025. We ask you all to please rise, remove your hats, put your hand over your heart, and join us in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Mr. Officer will take the roll.
Berger.
Here.
Gann.
Here.
Cavanaugh. Here. Wiki.
Here.
Porter. Here. Bell.
Here. Before we start on the minutes, we have some visitors here tonight. You'll see an agenda. Hopefully somebody found the agenda. On the back of the agenda, it tells how we handle visitors. Basically, you're asked to stand, give your name and address. We give you 5 minutes. 3 minutes in, we'll give you a little rabbit ear saying you got 2 minutes left. We may respond to your questions. If you have any questions, direct them to me. We may respond, or we may say thank you very much and move on to the next visitor. Okay, let's do the minutes now. Any changes or corrections to the minutes from January the 13th?
Move to approve.
Hearing none, move to approve by Porter, seconded by Kavanaugh. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Motion is passed. Okay, visitors. Is there anyone who would like to speak to council? This is your chance, guys, if you want to speak.
Like, well, gentlemen in front.
Okay, Jacob will warm them up.
How long we got?
Okay.
So since we were speaking or talking about the bike trails and initiative and everything.
Name and address.
18053 English Drive, Bainbridge, Ohio, but 100 Mountain Road Cycle, 100 Industrial Parkway, South Russell for my business.
Name?
Jacob English,
The name of the business.
Mountain Road Cycles.
Okay.
Having worked with Solon for close to 25, 30 years and Chardon for that amount of time, I do see a vision of what you guys are talking about. It might take another 20 years, but the connectivity between all these communities could be realized with what you're proposing. And I think that would be a very amazing thing that would last a lifetime for a lot of people. And anything we can do to achieve that and allow our kids and our grandkids to be able to ride to Gurney or Chagrin or anywhere, I think would be a wonderful thing. But as you know, it takes time.
Yep.
And grants and a lot of communities coming together. But the big thing is connectivity. If we can connect all that in one way or form or another, whether it's Jaws Parks or Solon and Merrick House or, Chagrin and Mr. Tonko and everybody, pull it all together. I just, if we pull it all together, that could be a great thing for our communities in the future, and that's kind of my statement.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who's next?
I'll go next.
Please.
I'm Kara Tweed, 28 Woodside Road. I like what you have to say.
Yeah.
My interest is more geared towards walkability. I have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old who do not like taking the bus, and we currently drop them off at the municipal lot and pick them up to high school. We live, especially when my 12-year-old is at middle school, I mean, that's a really easy walk. And there are many days where it's like, can we just walk home? And I'm like, I just don't feel comfortable with that, especially in the snow. I think that the future is walkability. I think that everyone's home values will increase if we have that walkability. That is what people of my generation are interested in. The walkability of Chagrin Falls, having your kids at the intermediate school, go to town after school, I mean, that is a huge draw. And we're so close, but we're missing out on that ability to easily access the village. We would use the park, which, I mean, we can access through some of my neighbors' backyards, but we would walk up to the park, my kids would probably walk up to Gurney to use the soccer fields. So I think that I'm excited by what's progressing. I think it needs to be a real priority for quality of life and also for home resale values.
Thank you. Who's next?
My name is Ryan Macy. I live right across 306 in Chagrin Lakes, which also puts me right across Bell from Gurney. And
Yeah,
honestly, my kids love riding the bus, but they also really love riding their bikes.
yeah,
It's really tough that we can't ride to school.
Yeah.
Because of that one road crossing. Even within our neighborhood, I don't quite feel safe letting them ride without me there watching for traffic because so many people just ignore stop signs. And it's much worse on Bell. Having that access to Gurney, having access to Chagrin, being able to ride our bikes from our home all the way to town, community events would be huge. And it would make this feel like one community instead of several small ones, very distant from each other. As close as we are by car, it is very, very far by bike if you're a small person in car zones. That safety, that access, that walkability, connectivity is huge. And connecting communities, it's a really big deal. It makes everything feel much closer and friendlier. You see people all the time on the trails. I've spent time on trails here in Ohio and back in Virginia where we lived before moving to South Russell. And there are people I never knew by name, but I would talk to them often just because I always saw them out running or biking or walking at the same time I was day after day after day. That's big. That feels completely different from driving past faceless cars on the road all the time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, would you guys flip a coin? One of you two going to speak now?
I'll go first.
Okay, name and address.
My name is Colton Darrell, and I live on 110 Ashby Drive. And I'm also here on the sidewalk/trails thing. And I think that'd be really big because we live like a half mile away, but the main thing between us is Bell Road, and our parents won't let us like bike through to his houses because they feel that is not safe, especially for us, like riding along. So I feel that if we could get that, that'd be like really good. Like also what they said about Gurney and stuff for kids, that'd be like really nice.
Thank you. Matt?
Yep, Matt Hansel, I live at 90 Bishop Drive in Kensington. Got two small children and a family that is very enthusiastic runners and bike riders as well. I look forward to the day where my kids can get between each other's houses with their friends and not have to worry about being kind of like landlocked in Kensington and just all those houses that are right around us. Eventually be able to ride to school, ride to the playground down the hill, and again, the dream would be connecting the village so that we have all that accessible just between a walk or a bike ride away. I think what's in front of council right now is really the question of like, should we do more research and spend some money to figure out what a solution could be? And so again, I would advocate for that. It's hard to have a really good faith conversation or debate about whether we should if we don't know, one, how much it's gonna cost, and two, what are the real life alternatives that we can actually envision, whether that's Bell Street, both directions on 306, whether it's speed limits, whether it's other assessments that we need to do just to understand the impact. So I don't see it like that being a very big barrier at all. It's just, we should ask questions, we should do more research so we can bring it back to the folks, what it actually feel like and look like to build a trail or put in some of the amenities that we're asking for, and we have a real conversation about it.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to put a pause for a second and just kind of let everybody know. NWACA controls the federal money. They gave us $1.2 million to repave Bell Road, and then they also gave us $800,000 to basically get people off the roads onto trails. So that's where we are right now. Hopefully in a few minutes, we'll have a motion to hire an engineering firm, our engineering firm, to really determine where the trail should go. I think everybody in this room probably has an idea of where they would like to see a trail and where they would not like to see a trail. And that's why we need to get to the engineer to say, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do, this is what it's going to cost. That's where we stand right now. Okay, now I put the pressure on you. Are you ready to speak? Okay, please, name and address.
My name is Grant Berger. I live on 109 Champion Lane. So I live pretty far from downtown Chagrin. It's like a 15-minute car ride. And I live kind of far out from, like, not close to any of my friends. The closest is Colton, which is like a 2-minute drive. But I feel like I can bike to like Colton's, which is like 5 minutes bike ride, or like people who are not, who are like a 2-minute drive, but like a 5-minute bike ride. Their parents don't feel safe with them biking on the roads that don't have sidewalks or trails, that they don't have trails, because the roads are not that safe anymore, not that safe. And I feel like if you want to ask every time if you can take me to my friend's house because you can't drive, but you can't just bike there. I feel like if we could have somewhere that they could bike or walk or do some way to get there, so they don't have to ask their parents every weekend to drive 2 minutes to their friend's house. I feel like that would be really good.
Kudos to you two. Kudos to Chris Bell's son. 2 years ago, he sent us a letter, basically the same thing. It got us thinking, but not moving. You've helped us get moving. The other thing that really helped us move is the chief got on top of the situation with the crosswalk at the park. And it's a nice idea, and it's one of the reasons you're gonna see in front of us. He got an award, which we'll talk about. Let's talk about it right now.
Sure.
While we have a crowd here.
So when I took over as chief in 2013, we started working with AAA of East Central Ohio. And based on our community service programs, our community engagement, and the traffic safety programs that we've built into the system, we were nominated for some awards. So 2013, we got the Bronze Award. 2014 through 2020, we had the Silver Award. But over the last few years, we've had some pretty substantial projects, and what we have earned over the last 3 years in a row is the Platinum Award, the highest award you can get. So that includes our crosswalk, our traffic light improvements, our community education programs. We've got a driver education program. We've installed some guardrails around town to help alleviate some crashes. And this is the result of all of that hard work. So we're looking to continue to move in that direction to continue improving safety.
One of our biggest concerns getting the crosswalk is the kid that will come up, press the button, and walk across without looking for traffic. I think if you've been downtown Chagrin, crosswalks and flashing lights seem to be a suggestion to some of the drivers. And speed on Bell Road is much higher than what's in downtown Chagrin. So we have some things we're really looking at. We're going to go slow on this. Anybody else wants to talk? You came in late? All right, then we need your help.
This is my son's hearing. I'm Suzanne Maloney. I have been a resident for 20 years, and I'm on Waverly. And I've watched the community, excuse me, while I put things down. I've watched this community change. It used to be more rural, and people still want the rural feel. And I think the people who are not in favor of a path or a multi-purpose trail or crosswalks, whatever you want to call it, I think, what I've seen and what I've heard is they don't want the rural feel to go away. And this community has changed so much in 20 years. It's not the same place I moved into. We have to change. Technology has changed. 20 years ago, people didn't have cell phones in their cars and in their hands, computers in their cars, distractions. It's totally different now. Almost every time I'm driving on Bell, up and down Bell, there's either someone in front of me or behind me. I can see them in my rearview mirror, and they're driving in the lane where the bicycles are supposed to be, where the pedestrians are supposed to be. They're just driving in that lane. And my son can attest to that. He's seen it many, many times. I used to be able to run to downtown Chagrin and back. It's a 3-mile run each way from Waverly downtown. I don't do it anymore. I'm scared. There's hills. We have hills that you can't see the cars coming at you. I can't let Tiernan bicycle to school. He's been to Gurney, now he's in middle school. I'm afraid for him when he tries to take a bicycle or a scooter or even walk. I mean, get over on the grass and make sure you're going against traffic. It's crazy. I mean, how much longer are we going to wait? Are we gonna wait until somebody gets hit? God forbid, someone gets hurt or killed? Do we want that on our conscience as a community? I don't think so. We need to be proactive and not reactive. It's one of the reasons why I'm very passionate about it. I've joined the committee. Carrie and Kelly and I really are trying to work hard to get the word out, putting flyers around and trying to drum up support because we feel it's just something that's very important to our future.
Give you a chance to speak, yes.
Yeah, so my name is Tiernan Maloney. We live on 100 Waverly Lane. I currently attend Sugar Falls Middle School. I'm in 7th grade. And there have been countless times on walk to school, bike to school days where I can bike or walk into town and walk to school and bike to school. And sometimes even when my mom's car got a ruptured tire and I had to bike to school. So I would love to bike to school more and walk to school, but it's just too unsafe. My mom won't allow me. Because every time I'm biking and there's a car coming and they're swerving all over the place in the bike lane. And especially once you get up to, I don't know, there's kind of like a mansion over
Ridgewood.
the turn. There's a near towards town, it's a big turn. And when you're going around that corner, you don't know what's coming the other way if you're a walker. If you're a walker, you're going against traffic, and you don't know what's coming around that corner. If there's somebody that's coming around in the bike lane, and there's been several times where I've had people come into the lane behind me and swerve around, and I've seen it on the other side. Also, people putting a lot of times. I don't know if it's their fault or not, but people putting their trash cans in the bike lane. So when you come up on the bike lane and there's a trash can, you have to go around it, and sometimes it's not possible either in the grass or around with traffic coming. So, yeah, I would just like to see sidewalks in our towns where I can walk and bike to school because it's very scary right now.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, Bill.
Bill Stone, 1 through 7 Fairview. Great comments from everyone. I don't think I can add to their comments, but I'd just like to say thanks for everyone. Seems like this has got some traction and everyone's taking it very seriously, and that's great to see. So that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
My name's Matt Meacham. I live at well, I don't live there yet. I just bought 131 Fairview Road with my wife. And we have kids at college, and we'll be coming back. But one of the reasons that we bought in that area is because it's easy walking out of town. There's still some issues with traffic. There's still some places where there's no sidewalk, but that was certainly what brought us here. And we were limited by where we could look because of the walking, right? We couldn't come too far this way. We had to kind of stay closer. So there's not a lot of space on that. There's times I'm they're walking into town now, and I'm having to watch. There was one time there was a police officer coming the other way. I was having to step around a snowbank. I had to stop, look, make sure no one was coming that way. So it's definitely something that was on my mind. Bill kind of let me know that this was happening. I wanted to come voice, and say, hey, this is really important. I grew up in a rural area and kind of in small towns. I had to walk to school a mile, uphill both ways, freezing cold and snow. And that was something that was just part of life. It was really important. The connectivity is also really important to me. I biked from Cleveland in, inner suburbs all the way down to Columbus with my son, all on the towpath. It was wonderful. It was an amazing experience. So it's really important to have that connectivity across communities and be able to move between communities and things like that. So I'm really happy that I moved into this community. We're all talking about it, that I could come here and voice my support for it. And I hope that things keep moving and that we're able to, come up with a plan and grow provide more for the kids, for their movability and also the walkability for the community.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. At this point, you probably won't hear from us for a little while, but I'm going to turn it over to Councilman Bell. He's got a motion he'd like to make.
Sure. First, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight, adults, and especially you boys. I really appreciate you coming and sharing your viewpoint. I remember being your age, seeing Mr. English riding his bike through Chagrin, doing his BMX tricks. And I used to ride my bike all the way from Rolling Hills out here to Pawpaw Lake. And so that's my way of getting around to see my friends. And I feel like you've been robbed of something because you can't have the same experience that we all thought was just a rite of passage we took for granted. But as was stated earlier, drivers are completely different now. My wife's been clipped. She's been yelled at for riding her bike on the road by people. She's doing it legally. I'm afraid to run on Bell Road myself, so I completely understand. So I appreciate your civic engagement. It's hearing from people like you and your experience that helps us understand a little better from your perspective. So thank you so much. With that, I'd like to make a motion to give the mayor and the fiscal officer the authority to hire Verdantis to create a master plan for trails in the village not to exceed $15,000.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, discussion.
So one of the things that I'm hearing tonight, we've been talking pretty basically about west of 306. And now we're all the way out to the Newberry line. So this is going to encompass a lot more than what we originally maybe had conceptually.
I wouldn't say anything until Verdantis, CT comes back and says, this is where you should put trails. I'm sure what will probably happen is probably late March or April, there will be a meeting. A Verdantis representative will be here, and it'll be an open meeting where people come and say, this is what I think, their ideas, different proposals. And then it goes back to them and they say, this is what will work, and this is what you should or should not do. I think that's how it'll go.
And I think probably everybody's heard me say this before. We did this in 1992 and it came to a vote and it did not pass. So this is even larger in scope. The biggest hurdle, no, that's not true. A very big hurdle is crossing 306. Another one is the maintenance once it's done. So there's a multiplicity of considerations.
Anybody else? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. To the people, there's also, I look up from time to time, this is being YouTubed. Normally we don't even use the word sidewalk, we call it concrete paths. Sidewalks implies that they see what's going on in Chagrin. Chagrin is $9,500 a homeowner to put a sidewalk in. We're looking in South Russell, we're not looking at any taxes money. It is, the federal money is still your money, but we're not looking at anybody from South Russell having to foot out anything financially. My goal, I guess, is to see you all, I would assume probably the summer of 2027 for a ribbon cutting ceremony someplace. I do encourage you to get your ideas down on paper, be very specific, and we will be in touch. Last thing, proud parents, thank you all for bringing your kids here. This will go on for maybe another hour or two, so this is a time where you have homework that you need to get home to do. So,
Yes.
and the adults, you probably have something you have to do also, unless you please feel free to stay.
Thank you, Mayor.
You can sign in on the way.
I did, yes.
Good,
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
Nice job.
See you, Jake.
I was looking, neither one of them even blushed.
Good.
Good, thank you. Okay. We were at the mayor's report, there's a request for after prom. Finance, you want to make a motion on the after prom request?
Okay, what's the amount for that?
We budget 500.
$500?
That's what we normally do.
Right, okay. At this time, I would like to make a motion that the Village of South Russell donate $500 for the Chagrin local schools after prom 2025.
We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Jack Overman proclamation, Chris, this is the kid that did the interurban, which is now in the park. So would you like to make a motion to approve the proclamation?
So, a motion to approve a proclamation from the village for Jack Overman. So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Okay, I did pass out a mayor's report. I think you saw it. Do you have any questions on that? And I'm passing it out. I'll start towards Mark. This is the usual hazmat report. You see this every year. The chief, we did have one incident in South Russell where hazmat was called out for a white substance in a lawn. You recall that was back in October? No, I don't remember. The big thing that hazmat takes care of is about a year ago when a Cooley truck overturned in Russell Township. That was all handled through hazmat. We spend $3,500 a year and we get their services. I'll send that towards Mark. Also, I've had some information in there from Leslie about the newsletters. We did get our first volunteer from the newsletter. And I'm going to pass around Orange Village as a newsletter so that you can see that at your leisure. And then I'm going to go get something to drink. Any questions of the mayor?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, Chris.
Just so I'm clear, hazmat, is that a government agency or is that a private agency?
It's a regional government agency. It's a council of governments.
I feel nice.
So,
Beautiful.
so is this,
Thanks.
like Chagrin Valley Dispatch? Is it the same
Yes.
type of, okay, and so do we have a seat on the council?
Yes, we all, in this case, we're all even. There's no, of all the communities.
Okay.
So do you attend, Mayor?
Yes.
You go to this?
Yeah, it has a meeting once a year. And Chris and I get to see those, all the communities.
Okay.
Basically, everybody on the east side. Any other
Who
questions?
else in Geauga County?
Anybody else in Geauga County? I don't think anybody.
Cambridge?
Bainbridge, yes.
That's a
Bainbridge, Russell. I think that's it. We got everything from Euclid to Oakwood College.
Okay,
Just
thank you.
It's gone on for, I can't remember how many years. 30, I think 34 years. I'll pass that your way. Any other questions of the mayor? Fiscal officer, the floor is yours.
I wanted to let you know that I did receive today the certified balances from the County Budget Commission. So at the next council meeting, I will have some budget amendments. And that would be for the drum garage because that didn't get completed last year. The park restroom for the difference between what we budgeted and for what we cut a PO for the contractor for the bathroom. The Bellroad culvert project, OPWC didn't pay those bills, pay the contractor until this year, so we have to put it in this year's budget. And then now we'll have to add the Vantis study for the 15,000. So those budget amendments will be ready for the next council meeting. Today before you was the disclosure reports, if you can complete your annual disclosure forms and get them to me in the next couple weeks. The other thing I just want to touch base on the Text.my.gov, council approved going with the Text.my.gov. So when you refer to the newsletter, the chief and I have been working with Text.my.gov. So it's going to be text messaging to the residents. And so right now we have 1,300.
About 1,300
About 1,300 homes.
registered individuals, yeah.
So with about 1,400 homes in the village, we're able to, with this program, we can see on the map every house that we have. So when we can update that every 6 months. So there's two different ways of going about it. The general public can sign up, but we can also put in our residents. So if there's a specific issue in a neighborhood, we can send them a text alert, you have a power outage in your neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. So our hope is, once we get most of the residents through this program, and then we thought after that, we would do a push out to the residents who don't have and get their information, so we can, the hope, of course, the goal is to get 100% of our residents, and then make sure when the newsletter's ready, we would just send them a text, click here, and they can get to the newsletter. So we think it's exciting, knowing what's available, and it's moving forward pretty quick. So it seems good so far. So I'm encouraged. So
Yeah, we have another meeting tomorrow,
Yeah.
another training session.
so that's what I heard. And then I think finance is going to cover the ADP, or I think Chris Berger said he would handle the ADP thing because we did get an invoice for that and the licenses. So that's all I had.
Questions of the fiscal officer?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Danielle, just a clarification on page 2, the second bullet. The village budgeted $140,000 for the park restroom facility and well. Since there is not a specific vendor or cost for the preparation work and well, did we decide to have the preparation done in-house?
Yes.
But it still wasn't, it's not in the budget for 2025, so it'll have to be, you can't encumber those costs for the overall project unless you have an exact vendor and an exact amount. We
Okay,
didn't have those things,
so the cost we need to know is man hours for doing that?
Say it again,
For
Jim.
preparing the ground for it?
The man hours and then the, those costs, and then we'll just have to amend the budget this year for those costs. Now, if we're doing it in-house, that wouldn't be an additional cost, but if you wanted the cost center to know what the total project cost, because you're doing it in-house.
So this should come from the street commission, the service department, right? Coming up with a cost for them?
For the man hours, I guess.
For our men are prepared to dig the foundation.
Vault.
Yes, vault. And we had on the original, and I don't have it with me, the original, the estimate sheet from Ayers Well Drilling. We had an $11,000 set aside for that. I believe that was included in it. But I'm not.
For the well?
Yeah.
That's 10,000.
10,000? Okay, I
10,000.
thought it was 11.
So we can make those a budget amendments at the next meeting, because it wasn't done last year.
So, but do you really want the hours, the man hours?
Well, that's up to council. I mean, we don't do many projects where we do the labor in-house, but I know like there has been, people often forget that that is a cost, right? So, it's not gonna increase the overall, that portion of it won't increase the overall budget for the village unless you put it towards that.
Well, we'll need a backhoe, an operator, and at least one more individual there, at least.
Yeah, so the street department, the commissioner should come up with a, at least major equipment need and the amount of time. And I don't know if that backhoe is gonna be, if it's a day, if it's a day and a half, whatever it is, but we should assign a dollar value to the use of that piece of equipment, and it should be allocated to the project. And simply, good cost accounting would say, if we came up with a cost, I'm just throwing numbers out here, and we came up with $20,000 to dig the vault, okay? Well, maybe we can go out to an outside vendor who will do it for $10,000, okay? But we should always cost compare. Now, maybe we don't have other projects and we have people in-house that we need to put to work, okay, that's a consideration. But those numbers should be before council to make.
Like the street commissioner could come up with that. I remember Tim Alder saying it was like a 1 or 2 day deal to do the vault.
Yeah, and I have asked the fiscal officer to provide the financial numbers in terms of labor costs of what we spent last year and how many hours were worked and what have you, and what not just an hourly charges, but also for insurance and taxes and all the rest, a loaded cost of what it would take from a labor standpoint. So hopefully we'll come up with an estimate and, we'll start tracking those types of things with major projects.
I will ask the street commissioner tomorrow for all of that.
Okay.
Very good.
But basically, this would all be concrete, everything, just one piece of paper, this is what it's probably gonna be. Okay, any other questions of the fiscal officer? Finance committee, you're up.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Finance Committee met on January 10th of 2025 here at the Village Hall at 9 a.m. Minutes have been out. Any questions? They've been submitted. Okay, let's see. The next Finance Committee meeting, the meeting time has been in flux, but we finally came up with a date and a time. February 21st at 3:15 p.m. here at the hall. Finally, the Ohio Municipal League made a request for member contributions for advocacy work in the amount of $250, so I'm making that motion. The council vote and pass a $250 donation to the Ohio Municipal League.
Do you want to make that motion now, Jerry?
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion passes.
That's it.
That's it. Questions of the finance committee?
Okay.
Nothing further to add. Karen, Chris?
Okay, yeah. Okay, so ADP from the county, we pay a license fee for our Microsoft 365 license, which we anticipated was going to be $274 per user, and we have 20 users that we have to have a license fee. We've been informed by the county that due to changes they're making to the package, that license fee has now gone from $274 to $432 per user.
And that, I'm sorry, that includes each person?
No.
$432 per person.
Yeah,
Per
Times
person.
20.
yeah.
Yeah, so the total is $8,640 is the charge from ADP for this license.
Actually, just, so you know, the chief and I did question them on this, and it's actually 21 people.
Okay,
So that's 9,072, and that's for our G3 licenses, not our G1 licenses, so that's.
And the G1 licenses are coming up for renewal in a couple of months, so.
how many
it's
G1 licenses are
10
there?
G1s and
Yeah, that's-
21 G3s. So the 21 G3 license, $432 each,
Right,
total of $9,072. And the next upcoming invoice, 10, at $116.40 for the G1 licenses, and then 10, there's some governmental cloud service. Grand total for that invoice will be $1,884.
okay.
So you have a total amount here that they're asking us for those two.
If you'll give me a second,
I
I'll.
know that she's gonna do it.
I think it's 9956,
That's what I got.
Everything?
Okay. Yeah, $9,956 is the total licensing, which is a 40% increase, okay, over what we had expected and what we had budgeted for. So, so the first question I always ask is, what are my options? Okay, and in this instance, unless we want to say we're done with ADP and we want to go in another direction from a security standpoint, we don't have an option. It's, we did go back to the county and say, how long have you known this? And when were you going to tell us? Or when could you have told us so that we could have done budgeting according to the new numbers? Didn't get a good response, let's put it that way.
So I want to make sure I understand. We did a buy-in, not that that's the correct term, for when we went with ADP.
Mhm.
And I'm blanking on how much that cost. It was a lot.
The total package was $34,000 with equipment, is that right?
I don't remember, do you remember?
Yeah, it's something of that magnitude.
But that's not annual?
No, we had to buy specific pieces of equipment because all the equipment had to be American made so that all the chips were secure and all of that. And that was roughly, I want to say, it was $19,000 for the hardware, and it was something $15,000 in subscription and software upgrades, et cetera. But every year there's a subscription cost. You have to relicense every year.
So continuing on, it'll be a subscription plus the 400.
Well, no, this is the subscription every year.
That's the subscription.
$9,956.
Basically, yeah. Okay.
Okay? That gets us access and in the cloud and all of the Microsoft programs.
So this, let me just clarify, this is an upgrade that ADP is recommending because it bolsters the security. This is an optional program for general Microsoft users, but for us being on ADP, they're going to mandate this. So we could go with a lower, tier Microsoft product, but this is what they're mandating.
Right.
So Microsoft 360M with autopilot.
Right, so, I mean, we could walk away from ADP and have a lower cost, but we just spent a whole bunch of money to get onto ADP. And we were thinking that the number was gonna be roughly $5,500, and now it turns out to be just shy of 10,000.
Do we have to be married to the Microsoft suite, or are we permitted through ADP to use Google Sheets, Google Docs?
No, Mike, they have us tied up in that regard.
I suggest that we give ADP 5 more months, at least give them a year. I know Chief and I went to Bainbridge. They have them for 8 years. Nobody said great things, but they were satisfied with them. I talked to Russell and I talked to Chesterland. Chief, you've talked to the county. I say we hang in there a little bit. I say we pay this and keep our eyes wide open at this point.
Okay, so this is an annual license. So by paying this, we're committed through 1/31/26. So we're committed until the end of January next year.
Okay.
Okay, so paying this says we're committed. If we're gonna make a decision that we don't like ADP and we wanna do something else, Finance Committee is gonna have to look at that within the next 90 to 120 days to get started on it, because it's gonna take that long to get transitioned, if that's what you wanna do.
I also think that if we do decide to go in another direction, our licenses belong to us, and we can carry those with us wherever we go.
Right.
And then we can transition to something else.
So we went with ADP because the idea here from the county involvement was that it would provide better security at a lower cost. The better security seems like it may have happened, the lower cost doesn't seem to be happening. And I almost feel like we're stuck. Like they can hold us up for basically whatever amount they want because the county's mandating it, we're in the program already. So it's like we have sunk costs to this program, and it almost sounds like going forward, we're gonna get held up every year. Does anybody else feel like that?
And I do think that it's probably worth
scheduling a meeting with the auditor to sit down and the head of ADP, their security guy?
One of the things that I take exception to is the fact that we went with them because of lower costs. And I don't believe lower cost was ever in the equation. The whole thing was an increased security posture. And quite frankly, when we were taking a look at ADP, we didn't even consider other alternatives in terms of cost. So it wasn't a cost issue, it was strictly a security issue.
So can I say that, before we went with ADP, I know it's expensive and, I just know that I doesn't know anything about computers, and the chief were the ones in charge of computers, and you hear about all the cybersecurity and hacking, and I wasn't comfortable that I was secure, so I know we needed something, and I know ADP is expensive, I'm not saying you stick with them or not, all I know is I feel safe with them, I think we have very good, it's very secure. There is a learning curve to learn how to work with it, but, I never was comfortable, but especially now, I'm not comfortable at all having anything to do with the computers. I do not want that responsibility in any way, shape, or form. I think there's too much hacking and problems out there. So I feel secure with ADP, but I mean, ultimately it's council's decision. But I know it's expensive, but then again, for many years, the chief and I were just doing it at no cost to the village, really, besides, our salary, but.
And we also did tap into 2 other companies for quotes. So we did our due diligence, we researched it, and council felt at that time it was, the best interest of the village to go with ADP.
Chief, remind me what the pricing was from those other 2 vendors?
I can't recall. They were lower. So yeah, and I'm still working on, trying to figure out what we're gonna do in the police department with, leaving CBD. So, I've got a quote from ADP and I've got a quote for 2 other entities for monitoring. Of course, with ADP, there's a lot of equipment to be transitioned out and a lot of, switches where the other companies don't require that. So their upfront costs are a lot lower. But what I'm finding is the annual costs are quite similar, probably to the tune of about a couple thousand to $2,500 a year. So you would have no upfront costs with other IT providers. You would have a good amount of upfront costs with ADP.
I think the cost savings was we weren't gonna get held up by a ransomware attack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the driving forces is other communities had been hit and found themselves writing big checks to, Cayman Island banks or something to get out of it. And that's a serious concern, but, it's almost like we joined ADP and we can't leave now. And I wonder if that's really true, but as you suggest, Chris, finance will look into it more.
Well, yeah, but it's not one of those things where you can make a decision today, by next Monday, you flip the switch and you're off to something else, so.
And we made it clear from the start that if we chose to go another direction, we would have all of our technology in place, and it would be a matter of just switching the vendors to their monitoring. So, we have everything. We're not held hostage. I mean, we could change, directions at any time. It's going to take some time to do that, make that type of a transition, but we still have options. So whether we stick with ADP or you guys decide to go somewhere else, the options are there for us. It's just what risk at what cost.
I do think it behooves the village to ask for a meeting with the auditor and his staff to have continuing discussions about this. I mean, their answer is, this is coming straight from Microsoft. If they're going to this level of security, this is the license that you need to get to that level of security. These are the costs involved. That they're not in control. Well, I think we still need to have the conversation.
Okay.
So I think we should make a motion at this time to accept the quote from Expert IT LLC, which is the vendor, for the Microsoft 365 G3 licenses. And should we include the G1 licenses as well at the same time?
They're not due until July.
Okay, so just the G3 licenses, these are 21 at $432 a piece for a grand total of $9,072. So moved.
I'll second it.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. You thought you were off finance.
Never.
Dragged you back in. Anything else from the finance committee?
No, sir.
Danielle, the OML request, did that just come in or did you just remember?
We just got it today.
Oh, wow. Good catch. Solicitor, please, before we get going, I saw you came in on the cane.
I did.
Maybe pry into your private life and ask what happened?
I don't know. Trying to get to the bottom of it. But I have nothing to report, so.
Okay. Questions of our solicitor? Street committee.
Streets has not met since before the last council meeting, and the biggest thing, the guys survived the enormous snowfalls that we had and got through work. Today, Tim Young got word from the state that the state approved the plans for our park bathroom, and that had been kind of a holdup. So we now know plans look good and we're ready to go. He's hoping to get them to deliver late March or April. I'll be very glad when that bathroom's in there and functional.
Will there be a ribbon cutting?
I wouldn't object to a ribbon cutting.
Questions of the street committee. Anything else, Ruth? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I think that's it. Dennis, do you have anything you want to add?
No.
I want to add, just to make sure everybody knows, I stopped at the building department and on behalf of properties, I signed the building permit application for the restroom, which had not been signed.
Oh.
So we did all of our paperwork. Everything's been done and filed, and I'm told.
Building permit application, because they already went in front of the board.
Yeah, but they never signed the application. So we have pulled the permit, so we can do the work.
All right.
You don't want to jinx it.
Knock on wood.
Anything else on the street committee?
That's enough.
To avoid turf issues, I sat through the street committee with two council members, and we did get into a discussion of the corner lots, and that frankly should have been in a property meeting, but so that we don't get on each other's turf. The street commissioner's involved with both. He's got some ideas, but probably should stay as a property issue only. All right, building committee.
Building, we're going to purchase a new copier over in the building department, and I should have that number in front of me. Danielle, maybe you can help me. I think it's around 40.
Depending on you.
Were you? Well, I'd let you down. It's around $4,800, and I should go back and look it up, and they're going to purchase that. So I really can't make a motion unless I have that number in front of
We
me.
could say less than $6,000,
It's less than 5.
and then that gives you the freedom.
Just keep stalling, she's looking.
Looking not to exceed amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
I make a motion that the building department get their new copier in an amount not to exceed $6,000. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. You're gonna tell her tomorrow to approve?
Yeah.
She's noticed it's starting to make noise. The questions of the building committee? Hearing none. Chief, I didn't mean to catch you off guard, but I thought when we had a captive audience here to talk about your award, which matches the other two that are, you have your wall space in your office.
Yes.
But congratulations.
Thank you.
It's nice to see, it's nice to know what's going on.
Well, thank you for supporting the projects that we do. It's helpful.
Anything to report, Chief?
I have nothing to report under my report, but I will be reporting under properties and public utilities.
Okay. Safety Committee, you're up.
Safety Committee doesn't have anything new to report. The next meeting is February the 13th, at 8 a.m. in the police department. All are welcome. Pending any notes from Councilman Galicki? None.
Questions of the Safety Committee? Thank you. HR Committee.
Human Resources will be meeting on February the 11th at 7:30 a.m. here at Village Hall. I believe all are welcome. All are welcome.
All are welcome.
Councilman Berger, I believe you have a few things you wanted to talk
Okay,
about.
just, so we have one issue. Because of the inordinate amount of snow we have had, we have employees in the service department who have accumulated significantly more than the 80 hours allowed in their bank of comp time. If to cash that out at one time is puts them in a position where they have to pay significantly higher tax rates.
How,
Okay.
you pay taxes based on what you make in a year?
No. You pay taxes based on what you make in a pay period.
Well, what you pay taxes, it's based on what you make for the year, at the end of the year when you file.
Right.
Your individual check is higher, it could put you in a different bracket for that check, but at the end of the year, it's pay now or pay later.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's really a wash in terms of taxes, because even if it's taken out of an individual paycheck, it's gonna all
At the end of the year.
at the end of the year be in a wash, because you'll either get more money back or
More time off,
more,
but the time off is not.
no, it's not the time.
No.
We're talking taxes,
Taxes.
you know, so.
I understand your point, okay? There's been a request from the service department to allow them a period of time in which to get back under the 80-hour max. Okay? So for instance, we might have an employee that right now has 130 hours. So they've got 50 hours that they need to get down, either by taking it as comp time or by getting paid for that time. So to give them some flexibility as a one-time situation, I'm going to make a motion that council allow those employees with comp time in excess of 80 hours that they have until May 1st to get back under 80 hours with their comp time. That would take us through the snow season. And then it would also give HR the opportunity to then review the policy and decide if changes were needed or if this is just a one-off situation.
So current policy, at 80 hours, they get paid out.
They get paid out.
Okay.
Right.
And didn't we just adopt that within the last year or so?
But then we did ask, there were questions about changing that, and the recommendation of council was not to change it.
Right, and as I recall, there was discussion at that time about over 80 hours being that target. But now we're arriving and saying the 80 hours that we arrived with last year basically is not good.
I'm saying that we have a situation that we didn't anticipate, that we were going to have a significant excess of hours
Because of plowing.
because of the plowing situation.
Okay, so is this exception apply across the board for all employees?
Has to.
So how will we manage this accounting there? And I guess fiscal officer, you're the person to ask. How do we manage this? How do we
it's another rule and another pain to manage, which is why payroll and timesheets are very time consuming, right? Because we have all these different rules for everything we do. So, the balance on the books right now, the highest balance we have is for 117 hours, and he's gonna take, the next couple days off, so it's 101, so you're talking 21 hours. The 80-hour rule has been on the books since I've been here. So, it's councils, and there's different ways you could do it. To your point, it's pay now or pay later, the taxes. There's different ways you can handle it, but if council wants to wait till they have to use it by May, then, I mean, the reason there's the 80-hour limit, right, is because federal law is anybody who works overtime, you have to pay overtime. In the private sector, you have to pay no matter what. In the public sector, the federal government gave local governments the ability to put it in a comp bank, and the true meaning when it started was to benefit the government. So the government could say, okay, you know, you're the service department, it's a sunny day, it's not snowing, we don't need you, you go home and use comp time today, and then when we do need you, there's another day. In our village, we choose not to use that process. We allow them to bank it for additional time off. But if an employee comes to us and says, I want to be paid out, like we have one employee who usually comes in December for the holidays, pay me out for 40 hours, we pay them out, you have to, if they request it, you have to pay it. So that's why we cap it at the 80, because if everybody has 80 and they all come to me in December and say, I want to be paid out, I gotta pay everybody out. So that's why there's the 80-hour cap. This is the first time in 18 years we've had this request.
If I may make a suggestion, I don't know if this is possible or not, but on the 30th of this month, a representative from Ohio Deferred Compensation will be here. And I believe it's a 403B, that's tax deferred. Is it possible so our people don't take that big tax bill? Can they transfer any of that money over to a 403B that's tax deferred?
We have a 457.
Or maybe it's 457 then.
We can't do that. I can pay them their first check, and I can put their second check in as a step. I can give them all their overtime in a separate check, take out the mandatory things such as PDRS, Medicare, and South Russell, and then not charge them the other taxes. At the end of the year, they're gonna have to pay taxes on whatever tax bracket they fall in when they file with the IRS.
Why do they have to use it by May?
Say it again.
No, I said by May 1st, they have to be back under the 80-hour limit.
By May 1st?
Yeah, I picked that as a date. I mean, you can say by April 1st, you can say whenever. I just was trying to anticipate that we might have some more snow issues, and we might have continue to build time up, and if they wanted to take 10 hours of pay period of their comp time and get paid out, that it might take until May 1st for them to accomplish that.
But it would be done before we get into summer and other projects, yeah.
It's just a suggestion.
Danielle, do you know amongst the whole crew, how many labor hours we're looking at as a total?
Well, it's just one individual that's asked. Another individual got paid 35 hours the last pay at time and a half, and the additional 5 hours at holiday pay. So that's over 40 hours pay. He got paid because he worked it and he followed the policy.
So is it really a tax issue, or is it, I just want to take my time and comp time?
The tax issue we can address with 2 checks.
Is the 80 max from year to year? It's not like.
They're allowed to hold 80 hours on the books.
Right, so they can carry 80.
They carry, so it used to be with the 2 street commissioners ago, he would let them earn 80 hours a year. So everybody would drain their banks by the end of December and then start building in January. When we redid the policy, that wasn't how we do it. Now you can hold 80 hours in the bank. So they hold the 80 hours, so they get to take it off, but now they get put over it, so now so in essence, they're raising the bank till May.
So you've made I can't even remember, you made a
It was
motion.
a motion
Okay.
to temporarily allow that. There was no second.
I'll second.
Moved and second
I
question,
don't
Mark.
understand what we're doing. We're allowing them to exceed the 80 hours
Right.
for what period of time?
Until May 1st.
But they already will be, they can exceed it all the way till the end of this year.
So everything they work from
No.
now till May, we're gonna know.
No, the rule, if they're at 90 hours today, in the next pay period, they would automatically get paid for
Have to
10
get paid.
hours. The bank maxes out at 80, so anything over that, they would get paid in the next pay period.
Is that right?
But that could be added to still because the snow season is over.
Right, so snow season can, so, yeah,
It could end up being significantly more hours that they could have for comp time between now and May 1st.
But then I'm confused, because if we have 80 and they're gonna keep 80 in the bank, and you're saying they have till May, so this individual has 21 hours, so this week I'm paying the 20 hours, 21 hours
No.
all the time, I'm holding it till when?
till they tell you that they want to take it no later than May 1st.
Okay, and then what if, just so I understand how this is gonna work, so in the next pay period, they earn another 10 hours, I pay that? Or
No,
they're gonna just keep holding it?
they're gonna keep holding it, or they're gonna tell you when they want to take that and whether it's going to be in comp time or in paid. That's what the proposal is.
Why are we making exceptions for one person?
Well, my understanding is it wasn't one person, it was it came out of the street department, so it was 3 people who were saying that this could be an issue for them. And so if council doesn't want to do it, just
Who
say
brought
no.
it forward, Chris?
It came from the street commissioner on behalf of his department.
Okay, so what we're if this passes, what we're allowing them to do is keep more than 80 hours on the books.
Mhm.
And at their option, they can tell Danielle, I'd like it now, or they can hold it until May 1st. And then what happens May 1st? They don't do anything.
Then May 1st, it's got to get paid down to 80 hours. If they have over 80 in their bank, it has to be paid out.
Or we can give them X amount of hours each
Well-
pay period.
However they want to do it, it's just a flexibility issue. I mean, we owe it. I mean, quite frankly, if it were me, why do I want to leave money with the village? I'll take the money now and I'll figure out what to do with it.
Right.
Set it aside for taxes or whatever.
So if we say no, Danielle, next pay period, you're paying them for those extra hours,
Yep,
correct?
yep,
Okay.
she's paying it down.
And that would go forward to whatever overtime
Mhm.
they do in January, February, March, and maybe April.
As long as they have 80 hours in the bank, any additional that they accumulate will get paid out in the next pay period.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Chief, will you have somebody in your department who will be beyond 80 hours?
No.
Moved and seconded. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 I hear 3.
Can we get a roll call?
I think you should.
Roll call.
Yeah,
Berger,
Aye.
Danton,
Aye.
Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Kaliki,
Nay.
Porter,
Nay.
Bell,
Nay.
Mayor.
Comes to me.
Mhm.
I don't- I know. So in this, for our 3 guys, they don't want to get the money now. They want the time.
No, that's,
If we, okay.
Well, do they want the time?
They want the time.
Do you?
No,
If they want time, they gotta take it.
To end this situation, I'm going to vote for it. I say yes, so the motion passes. To the finance chair, good luck. This is coming your way. All right. That was, I think this came out of HR. We were at the property committee.
okay, thank you, Mayor. Properties met on the 20th, and you did get notes. The next properties meeting is scheduled for February 18th at 9 a.m. We did include some notes on parks and cemeteries, and I'm now told there is no cemeteries committee, that's part of parks, or, excuse me, part of properties, so, okay. And it was an organizational meeting, it was a good meeting, and we'll have more to say next month. Councilman Malicki?
Nothing to add, thanks, Chris.
Any questions of the property committee? Okay, one thing I wanted to tell you I'd like to do, we had two scout projects. There's some inaccuracies in what they completed. So come this spring, there'll probably be one or two interns or AmeriCorps volunteers from the Chagrin River Watershed or for the Western Reserve Land Conservancy will be correcting some of the things that need to be corrected. Ideally, we'll get it all corrected before the hike, which is hopefully, I think it's May 21st.
All right, excuse me, Chris,
Parks,
excuse me one second, I'm sorry. Chris, did you want to discuss the situation we have with the solar panels and the heat tape?
Oh, I apologize. Okay, so, just simple situation. So now we have the solar panels on the police roof, and it caused a buildup in snow that is hanging there, and it needs to, so what we need to do is put up heating coils in order to heat that area so the snow doesn't build up and cause a problem with the solar panels.
Yeah, solar panels couldn't clear themselves. The snow would come off a little bit and then just get blocked up in front of the gutters. So because we have no heat tape there to melt that, the solar panels stayed fully covered where, we try to clear the area and then all the snow fell off. So if we have the heat tape there, the heat tape will keep the buildup of ice from preventing the solar panels from clearing.
Is the heat tape like the old fashioned zigzag that you used to
Yeah.
see on roofs?
And that's what we're looking at.
So you have a quote?
I have a quote for $750, and we could do that within our building maintenance budget.
Our guys would install it or you have it.
No, I got the company to do it.
I imagine that's done when it's a little warmer.
As soon as it thaws, he said we can get it installed. So we may have a day or two next week or this.
Oh, even if it's still chilly at night?
Yeah.
At here?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just clips that actually clip
Oh,
onto
I
the
thought
shingles.
there was some kind of glue.
And then it has a thermostat.
Yep.
That, so.
It'll automatically turn on at a
Kick on
certain
and on.
temperature.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
So for that money, I thought it was a reasonable fix for a solution.
Should we make that motion now, or?
No, he says it's in his budget. It's in his
Yeah,
building
we don't-
maintenance budget. We don't need to move it.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Good catch.
All right, we're still at parks, I believe. Chris, anything else on the parks?
No, nothing to report.
Questions on parks?
Well, I'd like to just, it's a good place for me to throw in that I have met, hopefully for the final time, at least now, with Andrew Mezak at Century Village, and the America 250 grant has been submitted for $5,000. So think a good thought, say a little word there, and there we go.
And
there has been.
Since we're still on parks, and a majority of our scout projects fall in the park probably realm, I just want to invite us to probably be a little bit more consistent in our recognition of the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts that do the project. I don't think we're very good at tracking and providing everyone a proclamation. So I just don't want any unfairness built into our.
Did we miss someone, Dennis?
I think we missed a couple in the past year or so. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Any other questions on the park committee? Public Utilities Committee.
Public Utilities met earlier this month, and the minutes are in your package. Our next meeting will be February 7th, 3:15 PM here at Village Hall. And as a few notes on the topic of solar panels, we are reliably informed that an enormous amount of energy was made by the solar panels, specifically 5 kilowatts a day, representing the whopping sum of 36 cents.
36.5.
We'll take the extra 0.5 for the decrease, the payback period has begun for the solar panels.
But that's positive, and there was quite a bit of sun today.
And there
so
was
good.
some today, and it's,
Yes.
towards the end of January. So it's kind of like, to me, the cemetery where we spent $180,000 and we had all these projections and $1,000 for a plot, blah, blah, blah. 40, I think, have been sold, so by 20 years from now, we'll have paid off the cemetery, but we're hoping the solar panels will have been paid for themselves long before then. But 36.5 cents is the beginning, since you had that wire problem that had to be fixed.
Yes.
And no doubt Yellow Light is thrilled that it's actually working, and now they can advertise their great success. So as far as public utilities is concerned, that's one item, and we can maybe put that in the books, and not have to talk about it terribly much anymore, but we'd like to know at the end of the year if we actually saved any money, and if so, how much. As far as public utilities meetings are concerned, we'll be addressing, I think, the neighbor to the south who believes that the central retention basin has deprived him and his neighbors of significant coverage from view from drivers on 306. We'll be talking about that, as well as the Fairview, Hemlock,
Walters, yeah.
Walters?
Hazelwood and Fairview.
Hazelwood, that's it. Fairview and Hazelwood project, which involves the piping and some other items as well. So with that, that's the public utilities report. Jerry, if you have anything to add, please do.
No, sir.
Questions of the Public Utilities Committee?
One question, in terms of any screening, should that remain in the realm of public utilities now that the project is done, or should that be a properties issue?
I suppose my druthers would be to keep it under public utilities, because theoretically, every time you plant a tree, you help stormwater. So,
It is a property improvement.
well, we'll see about that. Maybe it will be, but,
Well, adding dollars to any property that the village has is a property improvement. So, doesn't have to be answered today, but food for thought. Because once the project is done, and now we're making cosmetic improvements upon that project, it doesn't appear like it's in the realm of a utility issue any longer. So
but when is the project done?
I think it's already signed off on and paid for. So that means it's done.
Well, if properties wants to just hand it off to.
No, properties does not want it at this point, okay? So public utilities can keep it until they need money, and then they can come to properties and ask us.
And we'll say no.
There you go. But we'll leave it that way.
Any other questions for the Public Utilities
Nothing
Committee?
minor, dog, next door neighbor.
Hearing none, we're at ordinance resolutions. We have two of them to accept money from NOPEC. So Jerry, you're going to get the next two.
Thank you, Mayor. This time, I'd like to introduce and consider for adoption an ordinance authorizing all actions necessary to accept Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council, NOPEC, 2025 Energized Community Grant.
First reading.
First reading. Next, I would like to introduce and consider for adoption an ordinance authorizing the fiscal officer to apply for and accept NOPEC grant funds for the 2025 Community Event Sponsorship Program on behalf of the Village of South Russell and declaring an emergency and suspend further readings.
Second.
Roll call.
Berger.
Aye.
Canton.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Kaliki.
Aye.
Porter.
Aye.
Dahl.
Aye.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Berger.
Aye.
Canton.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Kaliki.
Aye.
Porter.
Aye.
Dahl.
Aye.
Ordinance passes. Danielle, I think I just gave Jerry some incorrect advice. On that first ordinance, we really need to to pass that before we do the second part, so why don't we just?
No, one is the first one is the Energize grant, so that's the grants we get for solar project, things like that. The other one is the sponsorship grant for the fall festival.
Okay, so we can keep them separate. All right, who wants to do a property? We're throwing away property.
Introduce and consider for adoption a resolution authorizing the discard or salvage of personal property not needed by the village, declaring an emergency, waive further reading.
Second.
Roll call.
Berger.
Aye.
Canton.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Galiki.
Aye.
Porter.
Aye.
Bell.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Berger.
Aye.
Canton.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Galiki.
Aye.
Porter.
Aye.
Bell.
Aye.
All right, Councilman Canton, we're at the bills list.
Motion to ratify the bills list of January 15th of 2025 in the amount of $128,335.70.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. We're at new other, Danielle.
Berger.
None.
Canton.
None.
Kavanaugh.
None.
Galiki.
None.
Porter.
Two things, the 250 for the Ohio Municipal League, are we gonna do that?
We did that.
We did that, must have missed that. Second, when are we meeting for, building committee?
To be announced.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
Bell.
None.
That's everybody.
Have a motion to adjourn at 8:22.
So moved.
Moved by Bell, seconded by
I'll second.
Canton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we're adjourned at 8:21. Mr. Bell, can you